Hey guys, it's Dr. Renee Pleasant, a Pleasant Leadership Consultant, where we inspire your leadership freedom. Welcome back to our YouTube channel, and if you haven't done so, please go ahead and subscribe. And well, while you're there, why don't you go ahead and recommend it to one of your friends? So today begins our new series on effective communications, and well, can't we all benefit from just learning something from communicating better? So in this series, I think I have 7 or 8 parts, but let's go ahead and let's just begin the series right now. Hey guys, it's Dr. Renee Pleasant, a Pleasant Leadership Consultant, where we inspire your leadership freedom. So we're in this series, Effective Communications, and this is section 1, the benefits of open workplace communications, and we can all benefit from that. Effective communication doesn't happen accidentally, it happens with intentionality. When there is effective communication, you're going to have employee engagement, and that is a fabulous thing to have in the workplace. Did you know that employees who are engaged, it is a stepping stone to team building? It's true. And dare I say that team building begets productivity? Also true. And team building produces a healthy work environment. So one could say that effective communication gives you a healthy work environment. Do you see how those dots are connected? Now, I say this with bias, so take it for what it's worth. But effective communication reduces conflict, and that creates harmony in your work environment and also in your personal environment. So, who would not want a work environment and a personal environment with less conflict? So, with all of these perks as the follower, I think as the leader, the best perk of all when you have effective communications in the workplace is it increases the employee retention rate. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Hey guys, it's Dr. Renee Pleasant, a Pleasant Leadership Consultant, where we inspire your leadership freedom. So welcome back to our Effective Communication series, when we're on the segment 2 on elements of good communication. So we decided last time why we want to have effective communication. So let's get into the elements of good communications. Let's go. So it's really simple. There are 3 elements of good communication, and if you think about it, it just makes perfect sense. We communicate to exchange information, but it has to have clarity, and as I mentioned last week, we want to avoid conflict. So whenever we are communicating, we're doing it to exchange information. We have to be clear, and our purpose is to avoid conflict, right? Those are really the 3 main reasons. So let's talk a little bit about how we exchange our information. There's a variety of methods in which we do that. So there's speech, there's the visual modality, there's signals, those nonverbal cues that we give, writing, and our behavior. Ooh, some of those conflicts that we have are sometimes through the behavior that we share. So think about how you exchange information with one another. Okay, I'm just going to own it. Clarity is not my forte, and if you watch my YouTube videos, you know it. So I'm working on it. So if you look at my disc profile, even though I do have some strong D's and clarity should be my forte, it's not. So when we speak, we have to be specific and we have to be concise, because as we talk, as I'm doing now, sometimes the message gets lost. So it is something I am working on. So be specific, be concise, and that helps with your clarity of your message. I actually dedicate a whole workshop on avoiding conflict. So to narrow this down into one slide it's hard. So when we are communicating with others, our objective should be to avoid conflict. And to do that, we need to be compassionate. We need to extend empathy. We need to really listen and listen carefully, and we need to speak respectfully. So I just kind of narrowed that down, pared it down into 4 comments, and that was hard. That's why I put clarity before this one. That was hard. Hey guys, it's Dr. Renee Pleasant, a Pleasant Leadership Consultant, where we inspire your leadership freedom. Welcome back to week 3 inside our series, Effective Communication. And this week we're talking about where we communicate. Now, that sounds obvious, but is it? Let's go ahead and begin. Okay, if you've been in my workshops, um, you've probably seen this graphic before because I freaking love it. I love puppies. I love dogs, and this just cracks me up every time. So it's one of my favorites. So if you're as mature or as wise as I am, that's another word for old. Face to face is something that we were just raised to do. It was just how we were brought up. You communicate with people face to face, you make eye contact with them, the whole thing. However, the younger generation, that is something we actually have to drill into them because their idea of communication is this: it is face to screen. And it's hard for those of us who are seasoned to have a conversation with them because we feel like we have to talk to their screen. So there is power in making eye contact with people. There is power when you talk to them to see their facial expression. And there we have to also consider the fact that if you work with me and we do the disc analysis, that you have to consider the people, some of the people, I'm speaking to those of us who are the seasoned in the room, that our facial expressions don't always portray who our emotions because we're a little bit more guarded and cautious. But there is power in reading their eyes and reading their expressions, and knowing them. But there is value in face to face, and there is value in looking in a person's eye and not at their screen. So, communication is an art form that we are losing to technology. And I challenge you, as leaders and aspiring leaders, to get back to that. And I love technology. Don't hear what I'm not saying, but we really do need to have more one-on-ones with people, and where we're looking at their faces and not looking at their um, profile online, or looking at their um, their pictures. Phones. Some people are very attached to their phones. Some people cannot be away from their phones. Like, it is a serious condition, dare I say, a syndrome. Um, some people have no sense of barrier or boundaries with their phone. They will hold a conversation that probably should be private in a public space. Um, People will text nonstop, um, during a conversation with you or during a meeting. Um, there are people who will constantly check their phone while they're supposedly having a conversation with you, and there needs to be some etiquette about the phone. One of the things that irritates me is in a meeting, someone's checking their phone, and then as they're putting it down, they're putting it down so loudly. I'm like, dude, do that. Just keep it in your lap. It's not making near as much noise when you're putting it on your body as it is on the tabletop. You're way more of a distraction putting it back onto the table than if you just put it back in your lap. So I understand that, given your industry, that the phone is a tool in certain industries. I get it. It 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 can be a necessary tool in your industry. So I'm not saying that phones have to be outside. They can't be part of your job. So I get that. But I think there needs to be some phone etiquette. So, and we can't assume that everybody has the same understanding. So there's a couple meetings that I go to. I honestly feel like we need to announce that everybody please silence your phones. And if you have to be in communication with your people, then I'm seriously considering in one meeting giving everybody a mouse pad so that when they put their phone down, it's on a silent surface, because all the people picking up their phone and putting it down, it gets to be distracting. I mean, think about that. You pick it up, you put it down. You pick it up, you put it down. Those are distracting for those of us who are ADD. Um, you know, I don't need any more. I got enough squirrels in my own head. I don't need them in the room for me to be chasing. But we need to have common norms or common agreements on how phones were going to be used in the workplace. And we need to have that in place, and we need to come to an agreement on how we're going to use phones in the workplace. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it has to be um, they have to be banned in the workplace because I don't think that's realistic. That's not the world we live in. But I do believe we all have to come into agreement on how they're going to be used. And I do think it's very disrespectful that if you are having a conversation with someone, that you're constantly checking your phone or you're texting on the phone with somebody. Now, I understand that there's things that come up. You've got a elderly family member or something like that, but preface that in the meeting. It's like, hey, thank you for meeting with me today, but just so you know, my mother fell. She hurt her hip. She's having surgery, and I'm checking in with my sister to find out how recovery went or how the operation went, rather than just checking to find out if your 13-year-old got home from school like she does every day, and we're just having a meeting. You know, come on. It's a tool. It's not your heartbeat. Okay. If it hasn't happened to you yet, it will. Email. You hit send when you shouldn't have. Yeah. I've done it. I've read the emails where they've done it. It's not pretty. But you know what? It's one of those things that yeah, it just happens and you just wish it didn't. It happens and you go on. One of the things I can tell you is please, 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 please think before you hit send. Think before you hit reply all. Oh my goodness, reply all is probably one of the buttons I wish just did not exist at all. That's one of the buttons I just wish we just did not have. To make your communications most effective, I would seriously advise you to check your email like twice a day. And I have, as a leader, especially on heated emails, I save it as a draft. And I come back an hour later. I set my alarm, and I come back an hour later before I hit send to find out, do I still feel the same way? And I usually draft my response in a Word document. That way, I know I'm not going to accidentally send it because that's how I learned. I didn't mean to send it. I was just venting. So I vent in a Word document, then I cut and paste it in my email before I send it. That way, so you don't have to eat crow as often when it's saved in a Word document. But I come back an hour later and I find out if my emotions are still the same. Because it's never a good idea to reply in an emotional state. It's always a better idea to reply in a logical state. And sometimes I don't reply within an hour. Sometimes I reply in a day. Sometimes what I do is I reply, say, I received your email. I will get back to you in 24 hours because people want to know that that you're thinking about it or that that they've been heard. So don't reply all. Don't reply in haste, and don't reply in hot emotion. That would be my advice to you about communicating um, emails gone bad. There's a video for you. Emails gone bad. So following up to my suggested video of emails gone bad, instant messages gone bad. Ooh, the stories I could tell, the HR investigations. Well, I can't tell those because that would be violation, but oh, instant messages can get you into a heap of trouble. Big, huge. Mm. Hmm. You know, some of the best advice my mama ever gave me, and I still use it today. When in doubt, don't. best advice she ever gave me. When in doubt, don't. And I think it applies here to instant messages. So one of my favorite work platforms is Slack, and I'm a huge proponent of it. I love it. But Slack offers an instant message platform. Sometimes those who don't know Slack don't realize it's not always private. You see where I'm going with this? Yeah. And like anything else out on in technology or out on the web, not everything is always private. And I used to have a tech guy who loved to show me how gifted he was in the technology world and how he could uncover anything that the public thought was private or my employees thought were private. Yeah, so that's two video ideas for you. Emails gone bad, instant messages gone bad. My point is, instant messages are great if they are done in the in the light that they were meant to be. If you are working in this cubicle and you want to message somebody in another part of the building and you want to converse about a project, fantastic. But very quickly, they can go wrong. And for whatever reason, people think that IMs are invisible. IM does not mean I am invisible. All I can say is IMs and emails make for some very interesting HR investigations. So be careful. IMs do not equal invisibility. So we mentioned earlier that cell phones really can't be banned in the business world, and I'm not here to say that they shouldn't be. So if you're using your cell phone to communicate with customers, then or your clients, then you need to have a professional presence in your text messages. And that seems like a Captain Obvious statement, but I'm saying it for a reason. Okay? So when you're texting your customers, or you're texting your clients, you're texting your business associates, leave the slang out of it. Leave all the texting shortcuts. Leave those things out and limit your emojis. Okay? You need to have a professional appearance in your texting. Again, I'm saying it for a reason. Okay, this is my third attempt to say this with a straight face, and I just don't know that I can. So at at the beginning of COVID, and we were all on Zoom, and there was like all of these videos going around, and I'm like, oh, that won't happen to me. That's just like that was amplified. That's made up. That's just for social media. Zoom calls gone bad. People not realizing that the camera is a wide view or mm. Okay, here's a little video conference 101. Even though your screen is this big, okay, your camera is wider, okay? You can see this much on your monitor, but the camera captures more, right? That's why I have my green screen up here because I want you to see my messy office. So, people who are watching you on their monitor are watching you plus everything back here, everything that's going on. So they're watching people who are in your house. They're watching everything you're doing. So like right now, I'm fully dressed. I know that in Zoom calls people like to dress from the waist, the waist up. So, and I admit sometimes I do that. I just wear, like comfortable like yoga pants or shorts, and then wear a dressy top. Today I'm actually wearing a dress. Okay, so like I'm totally dressed. But if you were to stand up and see that maybe you were wearing your unmentionables, like nothing but your unmentionables, we see that on Zoom. Um, or if we were to see your significant other walking around with or without clothing, we see that. And at first, like I said, at COVID, I thought that was just like sensationalism. No, 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 no. That's reality. That is reality. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen that. And I was like, what? As my grandson would say, what? I was like, no. So when you are on the video calls, like I actually had to like in my household, it's just my husband and I, but like we have a rule. When my office door is closed, no one comes in. And I say no one because it's just he and I, but no one comes in until the door is open. Like this is sacred space until that door opens because I did. He's not part of the call. It's a work call. It's not a show. It, am I right? I would love, love for anybody watching this segment to drop your comments below and share your video conference mayhem moment. Please, 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 please share your video conference mayhem moment below. I, I, I gotta hear this or read this. Okay, so I share with you the work management platforms, and I personally have experience with Slack, and I enjoy it. There are many others out there. When you are working with those platforms, there are parts that are group um, specific. There, the groups can interact with one another. They can do their instant messaging. Sometimes those are group. You guys think it's private, but those are open to the group. And then there are parts that you can just speak to one another one on one, like a chat. Those are great platforms. I highly recommend them. They're great for productivity. They're great for communication. They build team bonding. They're fantastic when used correctly. I'm a big proponent of it, but be careful. They're not confidential. So know that. Hey guys, this is Dr. Renee Pleasant of Pleasant Leadership Consulting, where we inspire your leadership freedom. Welcome back to another edition of our series, Effective Communication. This week we're talking about the ideal method of communication. If you haven't done so, I highly encourage you to subscribe to our Leadership University channel here on YouTube. Let's go ahead and start off this series. Hey guys, if you've been following along in this series, then you already know the preferred method of communication, and that's face to face. I kind of gave it away earlier in the series. 10 tips to improve your body language. That's what I'm going to give you today. But I need to tell you that you need to take this in context of the person and their personality. So these are not like the end all be all, but these are things to kind of to consider when you're talking to somebody. So on behalf of every dentist and orthodontist, smile, okay? And on behalf of every mom and dad and Uncle Joe and Cousin Flo who had to pay for all the dental work, smile. Number 2, keep an open space in front of you. So don't be putting your arms across your chest and kind of being all grumpy and kind of closed in. Make sure you have eye contact. And we talk, okay, don't be taking your glasses off, Dr. P. Make sure you have eye contact. Be comfortable in your space. Now, I used to say this before, and it's true. Guys, whenever you sit, you take up a lot of room. I don't know. I'm sure there's like some science behind this and some psychology, but if you ever notice, men it's part of their territory. They take up space. Like when they sit down, they've got their legs, like they are commanding the space around them. I think sometimes guys, you're a little bit too comfortable in your space. It says here, ladies, when you're resting your hand, keep the insides of your hand faced outwards. And I think that has something to do about like your anger or your fighting, your position. Um, okay, like I need to work on number 6. It says minimize movements that distract. You would think as an ADD person, I would know that innately, but I think there might be some part Italian in me somewhere because my hands are always moving. My husband says that if he ever wants me to be quiet, he just needs to like, hold my hands behind my back and he might be onto something, but that's another video. Number 7, I get accused of this a lot. Slow down your pace. Yeah, I need to work on that one too. I didn't say I master all these tips. I'm just saying I'm sharing them with you. Number 8, be inclusive in your action. So what they mean here is you're reducing the distance between you and the other person. You're kind of getting you're not being like overt and you're not being exaggerated. You're kind of including them in. You're not pushing people away. Number 9, be open with your emotions. I think that we might want to put that in context of where we're at. We don't want to be overly emotional. We want to be professional. And number 10, pace yourself to match the other person. Those of you who are D's and according to the DISC, can I read number 10 again for you? Pace yourself to match the other person. Just saying. I can help you with that. Okay. This slide almost seems like it should not be included, but I am going to include it. And I'm including it as a reminder for myself as well as for you. Communication should be with 2 people. And it's a reminder that communication is with 2 people. It's not to somebody and it's not at somebody. And that in the process of communicating with somebody, it's a give and it's a take. Too often, people want to give their opinion, and they want to take nothing other than just they want their word to be taken. They don't want to take anything back. They don't want to listen. They just want themselves to be heard. And that's not communication. Communication is not a monologue, it's a dialogue. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here. Today we're continuing in the series of effective communication, and today we're going to talk about types of listening. Yeah, there actually are types of listening. So if you haven't done so, please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you are updated every Friday when we upload a video in our series. And who knows, sometimes I upload a surprise video and you would be aware of that because you subscribe to the channel. So let's go ahead and begin, shall we? True statement, and not one that is said by me. The biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand. We listen to reply. Think about that. Okay, guys, there are 2 types of listening. There is the listening type that only listens to reply, so they're just waiting to speak. And then there's the second time or type of listening, they're listening to understand the speaker. So type 1, they want to speak, and the second type is listening to understand. So you know you're the listener who wants to reply if all you do is focus on what you are going to say next. It's not about what the other person is saying. So if you find yourself in a conversation and you're on the edge of your seat and you're on the edge of your seat, and it's not because what the other person is saying is so riveting, it's because you are about to word vomit and all you're thinking is, would they just stop talking because I want to speak? Then you might be the listener waiting to reply. And that's not a badge of honor. The second type of listener is the listener who wants to understand. And leaders and aspiring leaders, this is your goal. this right here is the one you want to aspire to be. Because if you're a listener who is listening to understand, you are fully locked in on the speaker. You are locked in on them. And if by chance, because you are human, if you think of something that you want to say when the speaker is done, a talking point or something you want to respond to, you just jot it down, and then you zoom right back in on them. You just boom, you just jot it down, and you come back in there. You ask clarifying questions. You restate what they said, but it's about the speaker. You put all of your thoughts, all your feelings aside. It's not about you. It's about them. That's because you're listening to understand them. It's not about your feelings. It's not about your conclusions. It's about them. Hey guys, it's Dr. Renee Pleasant of Pleasant Leadership Consulting, where we inspire your leadership freedom. So, welcome back. It's another edition of Effective Communications. And this week, we're going to talk about knowing your audience. It sounds so easy, right? Well, let's just say if it was easy, it wouldn't be a segment. So, come on in. Okay. With a name like Pleasant and being a conservative, a lot of people think that, well, I'm a goody two shoes. So thank you. Truth of the matter is, I'm not. Well, I am now, but I wasn't before. I had my bad girl side. I mean, I was young once, okay? I'm not now. I've grown up. I'm all grown up. Um, and I've been in the workplace, okay? I've been there for a minute. I've been a leader, and I've heard things. I've seen things. And it doesn't matter if I'm in my 20s, my 30s, 40s, or 50s. It doesn't matter if I'm a follower or a leader. In all of those realms, dirty jokes prevail. Jokes prevail. Jokesters are everywhere. Here a joke, there a joke, everywhere a joke. So let's talk about the jokester. It may be you, it may be your coworker, but they're always there. So if it's you, I need you to ask yourself something. Before you tell that joke, because it may lead you into the hotbed of an HR investigation. Before you tell the joke, you need to look around to your right, to your left, and you need to ask yourself, what is the level of difference around you? That's probably one of the best questions you can ask yourself. Just because you think it's funny doesn't mean that everybody else in the room is going to think it's funny. What is the race around you? What is the gender around you? What is the socioeconomic level around you? The education around you? What is the title around you? Does everybody have the same job title around you? What is everybody's background around you? What is everybody's religion around you? What is everybody's sexual preference around you? If there is a category, then it is an area of potential offense. If it is 1 degree of difference, do not tell the joke. Don't. I don't care how funny the punchline is, don't. As my mama said, when in doubt, don't. That's all I got to say about that. One of the things that helps everyone to be effective in their communication is to make sure you're speaking to the right person in order to get solutions. Let me give you an example. A follower has a issue with workflow productivity. They have concerns about how a process is running. Now, they may or may not have a solution. So, should they take that concern and talk to a fellow follower, or should they take that concern and talk to their leader? If they talk to their fellow follower, are they improving the process? Are they working on a solution for the workflow problem? Or are they gossiping? Are they complaining? Are you speaking to the right person to get solutions? Or are you contributing to a negative morale? Effective communication is about going to the right person to get a solution, not about spreading rumors, gossip, or negative morale. Effective communication is forward motion. Anything else should not be tolerated. And if you are the fellow follower, your job is to steer them to the leader. All right, leaders, I've said it before. Change must occur, and it is best to address it head on sooner rather than later, because most people don't like change unless they're the ones initiating it. So therefore, bad news, i.e. change occurring, doesn't get any better as time goes on. So you need to address it sooner rather than later and help your followers get through the change through effective communication, bringing out the positives in the change that is occurring and keeping them informed through the process. Change is a wonderful thing. Let's think about the butterfly. We wouldn't, the struggle and the change that occurs, wonderful things happen. Springtime. Okay, I live in Florida, so it's not quite as dramatic as it was when I lived in St. Louis. But I promise you, when I lived in St. Louis, I welcomed spring over the winter. I'm just saying, change is a great thing. Okay, we're continuing in the series Effective Communication, and we are talking today about feedback yielding growth. Might be a little sensitive for some of you, so stay tuned. Okay, it's not a secret in my family, but I really can't grow plants, like at all. Like even the artificial plants, I kill them. I do. I don't mean to, but the dust bunnies, they take over, and well, eventually I have to get rid of the artificial ones too. But if you want anything to grow, you have to nurture it, right? Well, same thing with your followers. If you want them to grow, you have to nurture them, and you nurture them through feedback. So you have to give it generously. You have to give it authentically. You have to give it frequently. All right? So you have to give them feedback. If they are doing something wonderfully well, then tell them so they can duplicate it. If they are struggling in an area, give them corrective feedback so that they can fix it and they can soar. You want a great team? Build it with feedback. So, I told you at the beginning of this episode that this might be a little sensitive for some of you. Warning, warning, warning. Here's the sensitive part. As a leader, it's really easy to give feedback to other people. It's really easy to say, "Hey, Johnny, you did a great job here. Hey, Johnny, this is an area you need to improve upon." But as a leader, how confident are you to say, "Hey, Johnny, can you give me some feedback? Can you tell me an area I need to grow in?" Not, "Hey, Johnny, tell me an area I'm great in," but, "Hey, Johnny, can you tell me an area I need to grow in?" Can you? If you are strong enough as a leader to give feedback, are you strong enough to ask for it and wait for it? Can you take the feedback? If you are a leader or an aspiring leader, who can develop a thick skin and ask for feedback from your followers, and most importantly, take it, you will have built a trust bond between the leader and the follower that is so, so tight, so strong that you will have relationships that, should they leave your organization for whatever reason, that will create relationships that will last way past their time at your organization. Trust me on this one. Our series on effective communication continues, and this week we talk about team communication. Let's go ahead and dive right in. All right. Here at Pleasant Leadership Consulting, I am a huge fan of team building. In fact, I dedicate a large bit of my company resources to conducting workshops on team building. So I am a huge proponent that employers spend time at their meetings dedicating time for icebreaker activities and team building activities. Now, I'm not saying that you need to take a big chunk of your meeting time for this, but I believe that leaders and followers need to build relationships. So take like 5-10 minutes of your meeting and build the relationship. Ask a question of them. Get to know them as individuals. You will not regret this, I promise you, because until people know people as individuals, they're not going to come together as a team. You've got to build the trust in the relationship, an individual at a time. So do the icebreaker, do the activity, and if you need help with that, contact us here at Pleasant Leadership Consulting. So continuing with that idea, know your team. So what are their personality types? What is their preferred communication method? Know your team, and you will excel on the best way to communicate with them. Promise. Well, that wraps up the end of this series, but a new series is coming soon. So if you haven't done so, please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel here for Leadership University. We will be starting a new series next week, so you don't want to miss that. If you haven't done so, please go ahead and visit our website. We have a lot of fun workshops that are tailored for pretty much any leadership need you have, and if you just don't see what you're looking for, well, email us and we'll do one for you, just for you. I would love to read your comments and your feedback on this series, and if you have a series you would like to see, I welcome that idea as well. So until I see you next week, I hope every day you have is stellar, and I wish you the best. And until then, lead well.